Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. Welcome to Veeam Industry Insights. My name is Jeff Reichard, and we have a great show for you today. I am joined by Eric Herzog, the Chief Marketing Officer of Infinidat. Eric, why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself?
Jeff, well, of course, thank you for having us join. We love our partnership with Veeam, whether we're talking to our mutual customers, our mutual channel partners, or in fact, we'd love to thank you guys. We presented in your booth at KubeCon in Europe. We're presenting in your booth at VMware Explore in Barcelona. And we did the same thing at VMware Explore in Vegas. So thank you very much. I am the CMO of Infinidat. I've been doing storage for almost 45 years. Currently, Infinidat is a high-end enterprise play. We're a private company. We have disclosed we're in the hundreds of millions, and our focus is in the high-end enterprise, which is why we match up very well with Veeam and what Veeam's doing with its enterprise play in the backup space.
Excellent. Well, I think it's a good time to jump into that. Let's talk, Eric. I know that Infinidat recently has had some big announcements on the product side. Could you walk us through what some of those, the recent announcements that you've had in terms of product enhancements are?
Sure. Well, we've done a couple things. First of all, at the end of last year, we introduced a very large hybrid array up to 17 petabytes, which is an ideal backup target for Veeam. We also have a purpose-built backup appliance, which we call the InfiniGuard. That product is now up to 85 petabytes of storage, and we do something unique. We have an award-winning technology called InfiniSafe, which is our cyber storage resilience and recovery software. And when you get an InfiniBox, the large size, we allocate 50 petabytes for backup with Veeam. And then the other 35 petabytes is set up for use as an InfiniSafe repository for cyber resilience. And of course, we make sure whether it be our InfiniBox, hybrid storage array as a target device, or the InfiniGuard, we have full compatibility with all of the Veeam technology, cast in V10 with Kubernetes. We have a CSI driver. We are Veeam integrated for backup and replication with V12. And we've made sure we have tons of certifications, for example, such as Veeam integrated. So we make sure that our mutual customers, and by the way, we have over 100 customers, and they're all enterprise because our focus is high-end enterprise. In fact, we publicly announced that over 25% of the Fortune 50, which are the 50 biggest customers in the world, happen to use our technology. And several of those, by the way, happen to be our mutual customers with Veeam.
Well, if that's not a powerful sales point, I don't know what is. That's exactly the sort of folks that have the highest requirements that we want to be taken good care of. Why don't you walk us through, because I know with Infinidat, scale and performance has always been a big focus, but you also mentioned that you've added some cyber capabilities, basically, for ransomware resilience into the joint Veeam Infinidat solution. Walk us through a little bit about how that works.
Sure. So we announced InfiniSafe last year. It's won several awards. In fact, in the 2022 Gartner Magic Quadrant for primary storage, actually InfiniSafe was called out as one of the unique new values that end users can rely on. And GigaOM, who's a mid-sized storage analyst, InfiniSafe on the InfiniBox and on the InfiniGuard was named the #1 cyber storage play for ransomware and malware. So what it is pretty straightforward. We create immutable snapshots. We guarantee, by the way, that they are immutable. We have a written guarantee to that effect. We create a logical air gap that separates management and data plane. If you do have an attack, we can create a fenced forensic environment. As you know, the cyber criminals don't walk in like King Kong beating their chest and screaming. That's not what they do. It's all done surreptitiously. The ultimate deep mole spy. So obviously, the fenced forensic environment allows you to do analytics and make sure you have a known good copy. The last thing you want to do is recover that 20 petabytes of Veeam backup data in 11 minutes and 55 seconds. I kid you not, we've demoed that live, recovering 20 petabytes of Veeam backup data. And the last thing you want is to find out the copy you recovered was replete with the malware or the ransomware. So you do the fenced forensic analysis, and I'll get to another new product in a second regarding that. And then we guarantee our RTO. So our recovery time with our InfiniBox, which is our hybrid array, we have an all flash, but most customers wouldn't use all flash for a backup target. But on our hybrid array, we guarantee recovery in 1 minute or less. And in fact, when we did the recovery of the 20 petabytes of Veeam backup data sets on the InfiniGuard, we did a recovery of 175,000 video files of 200 terabytes on an InfiniBox in 4 seconds. I kid you not. And we recorded it so people can see that one if they'd like to. So we also guarantee with the InfiniGuard on the purpose-built backup appliance side, we guarantee recovery in 20 minutes or less. And we've actually done multiple live demos for end user demand generation events, partner webinars, and the slowest it's ever been, the same 20 petabytes of your backup data, slowest has been 12 minutes and 55 seconds. The fastest actually was 11 minutes and 30 seconds. So that's a pretty powerful recovery time of 20 petabytes of Veeam backup data.
That is absolutely incredible. And of course, because you integrate with Veeam's Universal Storage API, things like Veeam integrating with InfiniBox snapshots and with the other technologies in the array are all built in. It's all manageable through the Veeam interface, right?
Yeah, everything is done. We are known for our incredible ease of use. In fact, we have several public references as well as Gartner Peer Insights, which are all blind references, and ours are heavily high-end enterprise customers. Anyway, where they've talked about their InfiniBox or their InfiniGuard, they haven't even touched it in 2 to 3 years. So we're like that, commercial, the Energizer Bunny, where we just go and we go and we go, because we use what we call autonomous automation and machine learning. So once you've set up the array, whether it be as a target device for Veeam or you set up for primary storage, whichever you're doing, basically there's almost no management. It's a completely automated play. And of course, that dramatically lowers the operational manpower, which in a high-end enterprise for a large system, we have a couple customers that have over hundreds of petabytes of primary data, not counting their backup data that they do with us. And the fact that we're so heavily automated means they're not fooling around with the storage at all. They're really focused on the data, and the storage basically manages itself. So we make sure that we do that. And then the integration that we do with you, the integration we do with VMware, obviously a number of our mutual customers are VMware customers. We do as much integration as possible, API connectivity, integration, for example, with what your management schema, but also, for example, with the vCenter Ops. So it's heavily automated beyond the automation that's built into our own platforms.
And that was a main focus that we wanted to take in today's talk, because Infinidat has invested in integrating with the Universal Storage API. We've done a lot of joint engineering between Veeam and Infinidat. And it's nice to be able to talk in concrete numbers about what the results of that kind of integration work by the vendors on the back end can be for the enterprises that work with us jointly as customers. Let's change gears just a little bit. I know you mentioned that you were at VMware Explore in Las Vegas. You're going to be at VMware Explore for Europe with Veeam at that event. We've talked a lot about VMware in the data center so far. Let's dig into what the value proposition is with Infinidat for containerized environments. And for audiences that watch Industry Insights a lot, you'll know we here at Veeam love talking about our research. I'll mention that in this year's Data Protection Trends Survey, we asked organizations, totally straightforward question, how many of you either already have critical production workloads running on Kubernetes environments, or you will have by the end of 2023. That number was 82%. So good footprint of folks who either have deployed or will be deploying production mission critical workloads in Kubernetes before the end of the year. And Eric, I know that our joint customer base tends to skew heavily toward enterprise, and I'll just share the numbers for large organizations are even beyond that 82%. They tend to be a little bit more technology leading and out there. So what is the Infinidat solution for Kubernetes look like?
So what we've done is we have created, as you know, unlike virtual machines, in the container space, particularly for primary storage, the issue is how do you get persistent storage? When you blow away a container, you blow away the storage and the data associated with that. In a virtual world, that doesn't happen. So we have developed a CSI driver We are fully certified in the Kubernetes environment, both on the Tanzu side, on the Red Hat side, in the purely, truly open side, which gives us that data storage persistence. We are, again, an integrated solution with Kasten K10 for Kubernetes backup. So we can be the source. So if they've got containers for primary data sets with their databases or other workloads and applications, our CSA driver will maintain that persistence in a Kubernetes and container environment. And also, if you want us to be the backup target, whether that be the InfiniBox or our InfiniGuard purpose-built backup appliance, we can maintain persistence because of the CSI driver support. So that's very, very, very valuable and something that's incredibly necessary in the container world that the storage company needs to provide. And we make sure then with that integration that any of the Kasten customers can use either the purpose-built backup appliance, InfiniGuard, or an InfiniBox as a backup target device. And then obviously, when you're in the container world on the primary side, we would, of course, be the source volume that just as you can do, of course, with the Veeam technology, that the Kasten technology could back us up when it's in a container configuration on our primary storage side, which would be, of course, our InfiniBox or our InfiniBox all-flash module, the InfiniBox SSA.
You know, it's interesting that you mention the need for storage persistence, because I think it's something that we found at Kasten by Veeam, that it was a common thought initially among organizations, enterprises that were going to be deploying containerized Kubernetes managed environments, that, like you say, the containerized workloads would basically be transitory. They would be, you know, they would come up, they would do their job and then go away, and that any underlying data that they required would be held in some other kind of storage, would be held in, you know, databases or in unstructured blob storage or whatever, but that you could actually get consistent backups doing that. And we've had a number of customers who've come to us because they've been burned. They either had stateful containers that they needed to protect data that they sort of hadn't anticipated, or they found that coordinating data protection between all those different storage types was a bear unless you're doing it at the application level. It sounds like, since you've invested in this partnership, that is what Infinidat has found as well.
Yeah, what we see is obviously still heavily virtualized. Obviously, VMware, we support Hyper-V, we have customers with OVM, even a few with KVM, not very many, but a few of those. So whatever the virtualization environment, but we see with all the changes in the application space that worst case, containers will coexist with virtual machines, and for primary storage workloads, they will not be coming and going. If you're going to be doing a financial database, accounts payable, accounts receivable, running a $50 billion global enterprise, and you decide you're going to use containers, you're going to need persistent storage. It's not going to be easy to bring up a container, blow it away, move it around, because you're going to need those containers because you're using it as active data, just the way you do with bare metal and just the way you do in virtual environments. So we see containers as, again, and some people forecast from the analyst community, containers will eventually subsume the virtualization world because of the flexibility, how it works, what it can do, just the way virtualization subsumed bare metal. I mean, how many of our mutual customers have bare metal? They all do, but they're heavily, heavily virtualized. And guess what? 10 years from now, they'll say, there's a little bit of bare metal, there's a little bit of virtualization, and they're 80% containerized. That's where we think the world is going. So we make sure we have bare metal support. Obviously, we have all the virtualization layer supports. And again, on the Kubernetes side, whether you, if you will, roll your own, whether you use Tanzu in the VMware environment, or whether you use Red Hat, we support all those. We work with everybody, and we make sure that our customers, it's transparent to them. That's what they want. Remember, this will make you laugh. CIOs hate storage. I've been doing this for over 40 years. And I have presented to at least 1,000 CIOs across the world. I was a senior VP at EMC. I was a CMO of IBM Storage twice. So, I'm out there talking to these big, giant accounts. I have never met a CIO who used to be a storage or backup administrator. Basically, they all hate it. So the secret, which you guys have done in the modern data protection space, and we've done with our platforms, is to make it seamless, and show them, wow, we should use Veeam. We should use Infinidat because they're saving me big money on CapEx and OpEx. I don't even know how storage works. I'm the CIO. I'm a software guy. But I know I need it. I need data. So I need Infinidat for primary. I need Veeam to protect it because stuff can happen. And, they just hate it. So the more we do the ease of use, this level of integration, supporting bare metal, virtualization, containers, that way our mutual customers will be happy. And, both of us will grow. And of course, we're delivering not only true technical value to those customers, but business value, because the CIO never makes a decision on storage, at least on technical value, because they don't know how storage works. That's not what they do as a CIO. They all came out of the software side of the business. Again, like I said, never met a CIO who used to be a storage admin. There probably is one who might send you a nasty. Why didn't you say there is one? But again, on the 1,000 or so I've met, not one yet. So we, as a team, need to make the data protection side, the primary side, and even things like disaster recovery. We can take Kasten data. We can take Veeam backup data sets and replicate it. I am in Silicon Valley. We really do have earthquakes. We've seen hurricanes and tsunamis and tornadoes and flooding, and data centers get damaged. So not only do you provide the modern data protection for our source devices, and you can use us as a target, but we also make sure that we have disaster protection because we can replicate all of the Veeam and Kasten backup data sets to remote location. If there's an earthquake in Silicon Valley, I hope I didn't just jinx me and there will be an earthquake today, and I replicated to the Denver data center, or I'm in Singapore and there's a tsunami, but I've replicated to a data center, for example, in Sydney, I'm protected. And we can do that with Veeam and Kasten backup data sets.
Yep, that's perfect. So let's dig in a little bit more. I think that you addressed a little bit of this earlier on, and maybe some of it in what you just said, but the focus in terms of the partnership, and one reason that Infinidat and Veeam are working together at things like VMware Explore here in the US and in EMEA coming up in a month and a half or so. One of the reasons is that we are a good solution for the most mission critical workloads for the biggest environments. Do you want to talk a little bit more about some of the certifications we've done in joint integration work?
Sure. So we make sure both from a Veeam with V12, Kasten with V10, and obviously the previous versions, that we provide integrated certified solutions that our technical teams work together. At the point of attack with an end user or with a channel partner, our field systems engineers and solution architects work together. In fact, we're working right now on a case study that'll be public shortly, and it is a cloud provider in Germany that uses Veeam and Infinidat. They use us as the target device with you as the modern data protection software, and they use us, of course, as the primary storage as well. So we make sure that whether it be at the technical level back in the labs, that we work together, but also at the field level. We provide technical account managers to every account at no charge, which is unusual, by the way, having worked at EMC and IBM. They charge for that. We don't. And those technical account managers are not tech support. We have that as a separate item. Their job is to optimize applications, workloads, and use cases, including modern data protection. So they make sure if they've got an issue that the technical advisors, they call up the Veeam team. Okay, Veeam, here's what the customer wants to do. They get on the phone together and solve the problem. So we have that comprehensive level of field work and engineering work, obviously the certification, our integration, of course, with your management schema, as well as the integration, given your incredible position in the VMware data protection space with vCenter Ops, so that everything works together. We have hundreds of mutual customers. And we make sure, obviously, you guys win award after award. Well, we've won 20 awards in the years only 2/3 of the way over. So we'll continue to do that. And you're a leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for modern data protection, and we're a leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for primary storage. And we make sure that from a backup perspective, cyber storage is critical. And we make sure that we have the right level of integration with you guys, recovering 20 petabytes of a Veeam backup data set in only 11 minutes and 55 seconds is pretty unheard of. And everyone we've told, whether it be a channel partner, an end user, certainly the industry analyst, just cannot believe it. And then we demo it and they go, oh my God, you're not kidding. And so we want to make sure that we take care of it. As you know, the biggest concerns right now of the Fortune 500 CEOs, and this was in the Fortune survey, is the economy and cybersecurity. And by the way, in 2022 and in 2021, go look up the Fortune CEO surveys. The biggest concerns were the economy and cybersecurity. So we make sure that not only from what I'll call traditional modern data protection, but that next level. And we tirelessly work not only with CIOs, but with CISOs. They realize that if you don't integrate enterprise cyber storage resilience and recovery, including the data set from the backup perspective, as well as your primary, you essentially just went on vacation. You didn't leave the doors unlocked or the windows unlocked. You left the door wide open with a sign that says, steal my stuff. And the windows are wide open saying, hey, take my computer, take my TV, take my DVD, take anything you want, take all my furniture. So by making sure that Veeam and Infinidat are integrated into a comprehensive cybersecurity strategy at the corporate level, integration with what they do at the edge, what they do across the network, of course, what they're doing at the server level. If you leave your data protection, your backup data sets, and your primary storage not part of that strategy, you are asking for trouble.
Well, and in fact, going back to Veeam research, Data Protection Trends 2023, released in January, when we asked over 4,000 organizations worldwide, what is the defining characteristic of a modern data protection solution? The answer was integrating. The top two answers were integrating with cybersecurity for exactly the reasons that you just outlined, right? And the second is automation. And you've outlined a lot of the automation and systems management API-driven capabilities that both solutions have as well. So you're exactly right in your focus that if you want to convince CIOs and if you want to convince the business that investing in top-end storage solutions and well-integrated backup solutions are important, you have to highlight the business value of that integration. Let's look at a joint customer that did make that investment. And could you talk through some of the results that this customer actually drove using Veeam and Infinidat?
Sure. So they had an existing vendor, both on the data protection side, which was not you guys, and also on the primary storage. And they were using older primary storage as the target device as well. So they're very unhappy with a number of things. They were unhappy with their primary storage performance. They were unhappy with the backup performance. They were unhappy with the management capability of their previous storage vendor. So what they did is they went with our InfiniBox technology for the primary storage set. And then they switched to Veeam from their existing vendor. What they also did is they used our purpose-built backup appliance, InfiniGuard. And by the way, coincidentally, the InfiniBox was the Storage Magazine Product of the Year in February. And guess what? InfiniGuard was the backup storage product of the year at Storage Magazine in February. So they went with this award-winning duo, coupled with, of course, your continual leader in the data backup space with the Gartner Magic Quadrant, and put that all together. So the InfiniBox is the source, which you guys back up. You back it up through our InfiniGuard technology. They are using our InfiniSafe, so they are doing the immutable snapshots in case they have a cyber attack. So they make sure that they've got that. They're using, from a backup perspective, they're using you for SAP HANA deployments, for SQL Server deployments, and other high velocity, highly transactional database activity that they're doing on the InfiniBox. There's two InfiniGuards. It's approximately 3.5 petabytes. One InfiniGuard is in one data center, and the second one, the backup data sets, and we do data reduction, the purpose-built backup appliance. We're running, I think in this one, I think they said 15-to-1 data reduction. We have other customers that are 20-to-1 data reduction. So in this case, they're getting about 15-to-1 data reduction. They back up with Veeam all those data sets to the InfiniGuard, and then they replicate to another physical location for disaster recovery protection. So they're using us for primary storage. They're using both of us together for the data protection side. They're using us for the cybersecurity of both the primary storage. They're running InfiniSafe on their primary storage workloads, but they're also running InfiniSafe on the backup data sets as well. Because obviously, if I was in charge of the cyber mafia, I'd be attacking primary, and I'd wait a second. The CIO could just call up and say, do we have a backup of that? So clearly you have to attack backup and archive data sets. Otherwise, they'll just go to the most recent backup. So we make sure, and this customer uses InfiniSafe for primary and then uses InfiniSafe for their Veeam backup data sets. And then clearly the replication to the second InfiniGuard is in case there really is a flood or a fire or an earthquake. So they're covering all angles here. The modern data protection side with you, the cyber side for us two times, and then replicating both primary data and the Veeam backup data sets to a secondary data center. So if there really was a true disaster, and I would argue cyber is pretty much of a disaster, but let's say a natural disaster, there was an earthquake, they've got the backup data sets and the primary data sets replicated to that secondary data site.
That's fantastic. And what I particularly love, again, with the focus on the largest, the most mission critical, the most demanding environments, is that this joint customer is an actual manufacturing customer using SAP HANA to manage their manufacturing process and their enterprise resource planning. We all know those are very demanding workloads. They're mission critical. SQL Server environments can get very big and very demanding as well, but they're still able to protect this and keep it safe from ransomware using the joint solution. So it's a great joint story. Now, I think you've talked a lot about analysts, but it's also interesting that when Gartner reaches out to your customers, they tend to hear the same things, right?
Absolutely. So as you know, and I know Veeam has Gartner Peer Insights references as well, it's not Gartner who does the writing. So Peer Insights is done by end users. They submit. Gartner vets that it's not Jeff and Eric writing their own write-ups, so they make sure the vendors aren't doing it. They just started to allow channel partners to do it, but they actually have a rating system. So for example, our InfiniBox and our InfiniBox SSA are both 4.9 out of a possible 5. And then our InfiniGuard is a 4.8. But so when a partner writes us a recommendation for you or for us, that's not counted in the scoring. Only end users count in the scoring. And both of us, both you and us, have hundreds of these write-ups of customers all across the world. Then what they do on the storage side, they provide a Customer's Choice Award. We have won it 4 times, most recently a couple months ago in 2023, this year. Gartner also uses both your Peer Insights and our Peer Insights as they put together their Magic Quadrant. Right. In the old days, since I've been doing storage for so long, when many of the people who are here today probably weren't even born yet, I was doing storage already. They used to actually interview people. So Veeam and Infinidat would give them a list and they would literally call them on the phone and have an interview. They don't do that anymore. They use the Peer Insights. So that's why this is doubly important, because A, it really is an influence on the Gartner Magic Quadrant. It's not just a bunch of Gartner guys sitting around saying, well, you know, I had some beers with Jeff the other day and I was smoking cigars with theirs. Like, we really like those guys. And yeah, of course that factors in because they're human. But what really factors in is, what are you delivering? What is the technical value? What's the business value? And the Peer Insights is heavily, heavily, heavily used by Gartner because they know that every vendor is going to say their stuff is great. And it's normal, right? Everybody's your kids are great. And but the Peer Insights really gives them the real world view without having to conduct interviews. So we're very proud of this. We've had it 4 years and it's very limited. You know, only a few vendors get Peer Insights. I'm 99% sure you guys were the winner in the modern data protection space, as well as what you do as a leader in the Magic Quadrant on the backup side. And we're a leader in the Magic Quadrant in the primary storage side.
On the storage side. It's a great joint story. Eric, thank you so much. Really, really enjoyed the chance to talk with you more about what Veeam and Infinidat are doing together and how it's a great solution even for our largest and most demanding customers. Looking ahead, if you would like to join us for Thursday's Tech Bites session, we will actually have the very first Tech Bites session where we feature members of the Veeam 100 Veeam community. If you know Veeam well, you know that we have a rabidly, fanatically loyal community base all over the world, and we're going to actually be featuring that community once per month, and that will happen for the first time on Thursday, October 5th. Looking ahead, a week, we will be having the first of a industry insights sessions focused on cybersecurity, because as you know, we're now in Cybersecurity Awareness Month in October. And so you can look forward next Tuesday, October 10th, to an industry insights session that is focused on the cybersecurity topic with some Veeam technical experts. Eric, again, thank you so much for joining us. Had a great conversation today.
Great. Thank you very much. And make sure you stop by the Veeam booth at VMware Explore Barcelona to see all of the Veeam products there, and also see Infinidat presenting in the Veeam booth. And thank you for including us.